Coming up on City Spotlight, we continue the second half of Season 8 on location, featuring not one, but two communities in this episode. First, we head back to Arcola to talk Arcola Schools with Dr. Tom Mulligan, Superintendent of Arcola Schools, about the last 2 years of educating during the pandemic, and Arcola Schools continuing partnerships with community groups in Arcola. Then, we head to Charleston and the 5 Mile House, and we'll have a feature on the dedication of the Commodore Perry Davis Barn. We're featuring two communities in today's episode, Arcola and Charleston, next on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. And welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. As you can see, we are out of the studios once again here in Season 8, and we're taping here on May 23rd. And for the first time here on City Spotlight, we're going to do something a little bit different here. We've had best of episodes, extended cut episodes, but in this episode we're going to feature two communities in one episode. And to start this episode, we're back in Arcola, familiar place, the Arcola School District office, and to help us out once again, Dr. Tom Mulligan, Superintendent of Arcola Schools. Tom, always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great to talk with you here at the end of May. School year is wrapping up here for a lot of school districts, so we'll get to that with Tom here. Last time we taped with Tom was about 20 months ago. It was the start of the 2020-21 school year. And we taped that segment with Tom at City Hall in Arcola. So it's great to be back here in the campuses of the Arcola Schools. Did get a little video of Tom there in the beginning of Season 8 when we did a feature on the 50th Broomcorn Festival. Tom showed off his broom sweeping skills, so they were on full display there. So glad to have you back, Tom.
If I'd have had any idea how hard that was going to be, I would have definitely practiced ahead of time. It was pretty challenging.
Most importantly, it was fun.
It was fun.
It was very good. So awesome time to be there in Arcola. So we're back here again in Season 8 talking Arcola Schools. Second time here in Season 8 talking Arcola Schools. So the last time we talked, Tom, things were definitely a lot different 20 months ago. The situation with COVID was a lot different. So I know right off the top here you want to talk about the transition back from COVID.
Yeah, it's. I guess I want to talk a little bit about how challenging those couple years were, and what to me means the most is how incredible I think our entire school community was during that time. We had very little. Confrontation, very little challenges in the community with parents, with staff. I mean, we really all worked together so well, and I think that really says a lot about our school community, that even though it was incredibly challenged, we really worked together, and I think we came through it really well. Man, it's been an amazing last few months since we were able to go away from the masks and a lot of the restrictions that we had in place, and the last few months has really felt like normal school again. It's been a lot of fun.
You use those words, normal.
Yeah.
And I jokingly have used the word whatever normal is these last 2 years. So
exactly.
What has it been like these last 2 months for things to feel what they did pre-pandemic?
Yeah, it's been unbelievably, it's been just so fun to watch teachers and kids kind of reconnect. That whole relationship piece, which is what school's all about. I mean, we struggled with that because we couldn't connect. I mean, there were some, first graders that I hadn't even seen their face, Yeah. I mean, they've been here in school a couple years, and, that ability to smile at each other and, make connections and change the feeling around here to such a more warm atmosphere. It reminds you why you got into it in the first place, why I'm an educator. It's been a great last few months.
I can echo that comment there about not seeing faces.
Yeah.
I have a now kindergartner next year in the Charleston School District, and he's had a mask on his whole preschool time.
Right.
And when they finally were able to take the masks off, it's like, we didn't know he sounded like that because he really didn't talk much underneath the mask.
I know.
So, very good.
I know.
So, what have you learned about your staff and students over these last 2 years, and getting through the tougher times of
I'll tell
COVID?
you what I think we learned the most is that people come together to do what they need to do to get things done. Like I said, our students and our staff and our parents and our community, they all work so well together, and they handled huge disappointments throughout, but everybody took it in stride, and I felt like everybody continued to try and stay positive, and I think it showed how strong of a community and a school community we are, that we were able to get through those things without any huge problems. I mean, obviously there were a lot of problems and challenges, but overall, man, we really worked together.
All right, very good. So great perspective to hear about from the pandemic till now, and moving forward, the next time I talk to you, we won't have to use that P word, pandemic.
That's right. It'll be in the past, I hope.
All right. Next thing that you wanted to share with our audience, Tom, was about continued partnerships with community groups in Arcola.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that's incredible about Arcola. We just have embarked on another partnership with the city of Arcola. One of the things that's kind of unique about us is as a school system, we don't have our own baseball and softball fields. We use the city fields, and our city, I'm really excited. They wrote and got a huge grant. They're putting in a splash pad this summer and doing all kinds of things, and we really wanted to work with the city to upgrade the baseball and softball fields. So the district is gonna commit about $250,000 to really upgrade, do all new fencing, backstops, kind of redo the entire baseball field. That infield is really in bad shape, and we had to really work closely with the city on putting together an MOU, and that's one of the best things about this community is how we all work together to do what's best for not only the school but the entire community.
We did talk about that last episode on Arcola, the improvement of the parks there. Right. So I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah,
that project.
I'm really excited about that.
What it will look like, because there's a lot of different things that the
they're doing in there.
Use that there. Very good.
Absolutely.
Any other community groups that you wanted to highlight that you did?
Yeah, we've got a couple huge groups working right now. I'm part of a group called ACE, and we've got two groups. We've got one group is really focused on housing. There just is not enough housing in Arcola. We've really seen a lot of growth, and so we're really working on some new partnerships to get some new subdivisions going and some different rental properties, because we really need to grow. We've got a partnership. We're looking at possibly partnering the school and the community in kind of a daycare center. We really need a daycare center in town. And of course, we've got a huge group working on business growth too, and looking at ways to do some of the things in the downtown area. So
great to hear about communities working together. Schools, the city level. So very good. Last couple times we've talked, Tom, you've done a lot of improvements to the campus here, because all the schools are all tied together here in Arcola. Last time I think you guys were improving the elementary school, and before that was the high school. So you've done a lot of improvements to your campus here. Well, so what's next?
Yeah, we've done a lot. I think we're really, really proud of how our elementary school turned out. We've got a brand new office area and a few classrooms, and just expanded the hallway. It's just a whole different ball game, going from the 1950s type design to the more modern type. So I think that's been a huge thing. We're really working on, I think we're really going to focus on the gym area and our old high school gym, and we're painting it this summer, kind of redoing some banners. We're going to be moving forward and redoing some our locker rooms in the next year. So we're really going to focus in on that area. We're also upgrading we did a lot in the elementary school, but now we're going to renovate and upgrade all those bathrooms in this area, and so that's kind of our focus over the next year or so.
You have an older building such as Arcola High School, you can't give it TLC all at once. So you have to kind of pick and choose, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, this building we're in right here, it's we celebrated over 100 years a few years ago. So there's always things we can do, and we had our high school students that are graduating. They all walked the hallways the other day, and we had a pipe burst on the third floor in the middle of the whole walk. So there's always, when you've got some of the older buildings, there's always things you can put a focus into.
You just never know.
You never know
what's going to go. So we're taping again here with Tom, May 23rd. This episode airing first half of June for the first time. Folks are seeing this episode. When does the school year officially end for Arcola?
Yeah, we've got high school graduation this Friday, and then we've got just a couple days next week, and we're all looking forward to a good break this summer.
So what does the end of the school year mean to you, Tom?
Well, the end of the school year, I think it's just, it's that magical time where you see students make that transition. It's amazing to watch kids grow, and I'm excited. I've got my youngest is an 8th grader, so she's going to get to go through 8th grade promotion. Awesome. Been through three high school graduations, so I've been doing this a long time, and it's just amazing to watch the accomplishments of the students. And I was talking to a board member who had a graduate 4 years ago, and he just, graduated from the military academy. It's just amazing to watch the young people in your community flourish and grow into young adults. So.
All right, very good. And I think I may have asked you maybe a couple years back, and so the end of the school year happens for the students, but the summer is kind of a transition period. So give our folks at home a little insight as to what is the summer months entail.
Yeah, the summer actually gets pretty busy from the district office standpoint. We've got the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, and then we're transitioning into a new fiscal year. We've got our audit process starting. We've got all the huge summer projects going on, from a maintenance standpoint, working with contractors, and the summer actually gets pretty busy around school for the district office staff.
Obviously, because you don't have any students around.
Yeah, right. So we're really focusing on some of those other things we need to get done.
I don't have anything else left to ask, Tom. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience about Arcola Schools?
No, I just really appreciate you coming out. It's been nice to have you back out. We kind of got away from being able to connect with people in our area, and I'm really excited to keep moving forward.
Well, it's great to be back in the Arcola Schools taping with Tom. Last time we kind of pivoted to taping at City Hall with you because of the times that we were in, but the flexibility of taping somewhere in Arcola, but glad you're able to get through the pandemic for the most part, and moving forward we can just talk about
great things happening. Sounds
excellent.
Good. Sounds good. Appreciate you coming to Arcola.
We've been talking Arcola Schools with Dr. Tom Mulligan. Pleasure as always, Tom, and have a great summer.
Thanks, you too.
We'll catch up with you down the road, and coming up next here on City Spotlight, we'll change locations and communities. But first, let's take a look at some of the upcoming activities going on here in Arcola, and also the next community that we'll feature in this episode, Charleston. And we're back here on City Spotlight, this on-location episode here in Season 8. And as promised, we've changed locations and communities. Here in this episode, we're now talking Charleston, and we're taping here on May 29th, and we're at the 5 Mile House, just south of Charleston. On this May 29th, the dedication of the Commodore Perry Davis Barn is happening. We've had a couple of segments previously here on City Spotlight talking about this barn, and this is kind of a culmination of this project. Let's take a look at this feature here on this dedication of the Commodore Perry Davis Barn.
The barn that you're sitting in is the result of a dream that we've had for many years. And there's always been a oral tradition that there was a blacksmith shop here at the 5 Mile House. And so even back 20 years ago, they were saying we need a blacksmith shop. So we were looking for buildings in the area that could possibly fill the role of a blacksmith shop. Then finally, Les Dallas said, there's a barn down the road here, 3.5 miles. He said, it's kind of starting to fall in, and we might get the owner to give it to us. And so Les talked to him, and sure enough, we'll let you have the barn. We just made a deal to clean up the site. And so we began raising money. This was in 2017. We began raising money. And by 2018, we had enough money to get started. And we had a company from Galesburg, Illinois, Trillium Dell, and they're called Firmitas now. But Rick Collins from the company came down, and we had a contract with them. They're the best in the business. They've done barns all over the world, really. But they're not cheap, so we had to raise quite a bit of money to do this project. We ended up raising well over $200,000. The summer of 2018, we were actually able to take the barn down. We sent all the timbers up to Galesburg to Trillium Dell's shop, and they reconfigured them, repaired them, replaced what needed to be replaced, and brought it down. In the spring of 2019, we began the project. We poured a concrete foundation, and March, Trillium Dell came in with all their equipment and with the timbers, and the yard out in front here, we had 3-foot deep ruts from the big heavy equipment. And Les Dallas, bless his heart, was able to, he kept working at filling them in and leveling them out. So then they'd make more ruts. Then they get stuck over here and have more ruts. So, but spring of 2018-19, we began construction. They got the frame up by April. And then over the summer of 2019, we had our programs in here. And the first program, the barn had no siding on it whatsoever. And the old-time fiddlers played. We had just the gravel floor. And then as the summer went on, each program, a little more progress was made on it. 2020, we didn't have our programs due to COVID, but we still got a lot done. And, got the sidewalk and finished our siding, finished the gables, that type of thing. This 2021, we finished up, we painted the barn, finished up the interior, got our exhibits up, and so we have the barn that we have now. So we're here today to celebrate that.
On this corner of 130 and the Westfield Road is this 1-acre site that is called the 5 Mile House site. And to me, it is a place of miracles. In fact, I'd like to rename it Inspiration Point, because it's inspired so many people, including myself, to do things that, without thinking about it, we would have deemed impossible before the fact. This place, a quarter century ago, inspired a group of Coles County citizens to buy the site that was for sale and preserve it, save it from destruction. If they hadn't done that, I think today we would be sitting on the parking lot of a convenience gas station. This is an ideal site for that kind of project, I believe. But a group of citizens got together and bought the place. One family, Larry Bates and his wife, Cleora, came up with the money to buy the site that was for sale and saved it so that the rest of the group could organize themselves to get the money together to carry on the restoration project. Tom has already talked about the miracle of this barn relocation from 3 miles down the road to the east to this place. And of course the Trillium Dell company that we hired to execute the removal and reconfiguration was an amazing group to work for. They work with. They took it down. They transported it to Galesburg, the parts that were usable. They repaired the parts that needed repairing and brought it back, as Tom explained. And they shrunk it from a 40 by 50 footprint to a 30 by 40 form or size that we are sitting in today. So here we are dedicating the product of an impossible goal achieved by ordinary people with inspiration generated by this place. And in fact, if our story has in any way touched you, we invite you to join this group. You've seen the major players. We would welcome you with open arms to our band of dreamers and doers.
And this barn, built in 1880, is the one we see in front of us today in a modified form. I've always been impressed by some of the structural features of the barn, including the huge boulders that supported the foundation of the barn. There are boulders outside here. Take a look at those. That's what the barn stood on, believe it or not. And then also a unique feature are the scissors trusses to hold up the roof. I believe Tom found out from the Trillium Dell people that they've done hundreds of barns, and this is the only barn they've ever seen that had scissors trusses. Right, Tom? Which I didn't even know what a scissors truss was, but I'm impressed to know that this was a unique feature. And I don't know how these guys could have even built it. I mean, I'm sure there was no architect involved, you know what I'm saying? So they put it together with some unique features. Betsy Davis died of pneumonia after 17 days on April 16, 1888. 11 months later, Commodore Perry Davis was married to his second cousin, second wife and second cousin, Mary Jane Davis Dallas Davis. Also a native of, guess where? Lawrence County, Indiana. Her first husband was William T. Dallas, a grand uncle of Les Dallas. Did you know that, Les? And he was a veteran of the Civil War, and Les and his wife have letters that he wrote back to Hutton Township from the Civil War. He died, and her second husband was Alfred Greenwood Davis, who was also a second cousin. So her full genealogical name, which people like me have to keep track of, was Mary Jane Davis Dallas Davis Davis. And every time I type that into my computer, it says, no, you're repeating names or something. The second Mrs. C.P. Davis lived until 1922. So almost, 100 years ago. Commodore Perry Davis was a Republican and served as a school director in his district. He died of Bright's disease of 2 months' duration on his 76th birthday in 1905. So I have known people who actually remembered him and knew him. They're all gone now, but there were people I knew that knew him. His obituary states, Mr. Davis was known as a man who attended strictly to business, and by his well-connected business methods was enabled to gather a goodly portion of this world's goods together. He was highly respected and popular. And I think he did a pretty darn good job on this barn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I'd like to say just a couple of words about the barn itself. Some of the things that you can see in the barn. The original timbers are hand hewn, and you can see the hand hewn ones. And there's some that are sawn and look brand new. And these are replacements, and actually the configuration that we have here is a little different because we had to conform to building codes and things like that. Originally, the top timbers wouldn't have been there because the hay fork would have brought the hay in, and those timbers would be in the way of the hay fork doing that. But the barn there was quite a bit of deterioration in the back part of the barn. So they salvaged everything they could and reworked it. And the timbers that you see that are newer actually came from the Arboretum in Chicago, Morton Arboretum in Chicago. And they are spruce, and they had to take them down, and they gave them to Trillium Dell and said, use them on a project, we just want to know where you use them. So these came from the Morton Arboretum, so Morton Arboretum is actually represented here. Our last speaker today is representing the city of Charleston, representing the mayor. She was going to be a speaker anyway, but she's with the Historic Preservation Commission, of the city of Charleston. And she's going to say a few words, and then we're going to do our ribbon cutting. So, Kit Maurice.
Thank you, Tom. Well, what a beautiful day for this dedication. The City of Charleston's Historic Preservation Commission is charged with preserving and educating people about the historic resources within our city limits. We are fortunate to be part of a network of several other entities throughout Coles County with similar missions, including the dedicated board and volunteers of the 5 Mile House. Through countless hours of hands-on service and research, this site has grown exponentially and now includes the reconstructed 19th century Commodore Perry Davis barn. We are excited to witness the growth and the myriad education programs and other activities that are hosted on site, and to live in an area that is so rich with cultural, historic, and natural resources. Congratulations to the 5 Mile House Board, Committee, and many, many volunteers who have made all of this possible.
The real one.
Now, the real deal.
I think it's safe to say here this is a pretty unique day, and in addition to the 5 Mile House, you're preserving more history. Talk about the importance of preserving history and why this barn is another example of why it's important to preserve history.
Well, when we see old barns falling down, or old houses going to pieces, we forget about the people who lived in them and how they did their everyday work. And we take for granted about driving to the store or cooking on the stove. Well, when you go to a place like this, you see that wasn't always the case.
City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.